Just introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Make a pose. And then
Okay.
go on.
Okay. Hello to everyone at the EdHeroes Forum. I'm Wendy Kopp, and it's such an honor to be asked to speak on your theme of families in focus. I think we have always known that families are central to the well-being and education of children, but that reality has become all the more clear during these pandemic times. I say that as a mom of 4 and as the CEO and co-founder of a global education network called Teach for All, which has been working to keep some of the world's most vulnerable children safe and learning during these times. My own kids are between the ages of 12 and 21, which means they're old enough to be self-managing. I've thought so much during this era about all those families with young kids, because I remember when I had 3 boys underneath the age of 8 and a baby girl, and honestly, I don't know how I could have made it through these months with a family and a job intact. So my heart goes out to all of you parents. The other thing that I've thought so much about during this era is just about the extreme inequities of the world. I think about the resources that my own kids and family have had access to. I have a 7th and 11th grader who are still in schools here in New York. They have wonderful schools that have just gone to such great extents to help them feel part of a school community, to keep them challenged and learning. I have a 19-year-old who last year was a high school senior and this year is a college freshman, who's really struggled with mental health issues during this era, and I was able to access doctors and professionals and supports to help him get through it. And of course, when we all found ourselves here in this apartment, all 6 of us, my husband and I, working from home on Zoom all day, every day, and my kids remote learning, we simply upgraded our internet connectivity and bought the youngest a laptop so that everyone could have their own device. So I think about that in sort of comparison to what so many children across the world and across our own network experience. So many of them don't even have access to safe spaces or clean water and food or quality health care, let alone the devices and the opportunities to stay learning. I think one of the impacts of this pandemic has been the kind of growth in our collective awareness of those inequities and hopefully of our collective commitment to addressing them. While acknowledging all the privilege of my own circumstances, I think the reality is that the pandemic, while it had many negative impacts, especially on our kids' social lives, had a really positive impact through putting our family at the center. It enabled many new things, including many, many family movie nights and many, many, many meals together. And I think the more close and supportive and engaged relationships that we built during this time have had a really positive impact on our kids and on their mindsets and perspectives. I think back to a particular moment when, I had been working in a particular spot for days on Zoom calls with so many people around the world. And my son, who was a high school senior, was hanging out on the couch through a lot of this. And at one point, he comes over with such urgency and sits next to me and says, "Can we talk?" And he says, "I really want you to explain to me how you do this. Like, how do I get on a path to do what you're doing? Like, this is what I want my life to be about." And I just think about that because I've been talking to him about my work and the mission we're pursuing across Teach for All for years and years, but it had never struck him in that way. So I think about that as one of many examples of the new possibilities enabled by putting family at the center. And what I've seen all across the Teach for All network, despite the vast inequities, is that it's a universal, that it can be transformational to put families at the center of education. In Morocco, the Teach for Morocco teachers are working with kids who are between the ages of 4 and 6. And so when schools were shut down, they decided to try to get all of the students' moms in WhatsApp groups. So, they were working with community leaders and all to help them overcome the inertia of doing that so that they could send them every day videos of activities that the teachers wanted the parents to do with the kids. And then the parents would send back the videos of their children and what they were doing at home. So now that they're all back in school, the teachers have realized just how pivotal those relationships and the engagement with the parents has been in the kids' development. And so they're keeping these WhatsApp groups going so that they can keep sharing thoughts and advice about their kids' development with the parents, and hear back from the parents how the students are actually doing. And now they're having group meetings so that they can talk about the well-being of the students and how to accelerate their learning and development. And at the same time, the mothers have learned even more about the importance of these early years in their kids' development. They've come to appreciate the importance of non-academic goals. They've thought differently about what intelligence is, especially as it relates to emotional intelligence. So now these teachers are saying, we never realized, we were working with the parents, but not so closely, and they're just seeing how important it is to engage this deeply with the parents. So I think about examples like that, which we're seeing all across our network. In another part of the world, the teachers within Singapore, Mexico, developed a program called Playing Together. They'd actually designed this before the pandemic, and the whole idea is to make the latest research and best practice about working with young kids available to parents. So during the pandemic, they too started sharing these pieces of wisdom with parents via WhatsApp, but they also started putting the videos on Facebook and on Instagram so that many more parents could benefit from this information. So for example, they would post a video giving parents tips about how to validate their children's feelings and emotions, and about the importance of that. We don't always invest in providing parents with access to the latest research or best practice. And so maybe one of the benefits of this pandemic has been just giving teachers the space and the imperative to actually invest in helping parents gain access to that. I've seen a similar example here in my own country through the efforts of an incredible Teach for America alum who started Springboard Collaborative, which has a methodology for training teachers to actually partner with parents and support them in supporting the early literacy development of their kids. And during this pandemic, there was so much demand for that work that Springboard Collaborative went ahead and just put the methodology online, reaching thousands and thousands more kids. And they did a study about the impact of this and found that the students who had had access to that level of parental support for their literacy development made 6 times as much progress as kids who didn't have access to that methodology. While this pandemic has amplified the challenges facing students and families, it has also reminded all of us about the power and importance of families and of leveraging their love for their kids and their insight into what works for them. There are so many predictions about the risk to this generation of young people, but if we can continue to place families at the center, we may well realize that they're better equipped to thrive than ever before. Thank you so much.